The alien queen couldn't resist the man who expertly repaired her ship. "Marry me, human," she said. Queen Siren Vihal slammed the command to seal her flagship's core bulkheads. Red lights pulsed across the bridge. Purge protocols engaged. Vents hissed open on outer decks. Crew screams cut short in vacuum. "Prefect Jorun," she snapped. "The human mechanic, drag him to the dead engine bay. Now!" Jorun's scaled face twisted. He barked orders into his comm. Armored guards swarmed the holding cell. Mason Cade fought them every step. A elbow cracked a jawplate. Fists met armored midsections. They pinned him anyway, dragged him through flickering corridors. Boots scraped deck plating. Queen Siren watched the feed. Her claws tightened on the thrown arms. The ship shuddered. Reactor cascade failure. Purge countdown, T-minus 8 minutes. Outer crew's already gone. Core sections next. Her empire's pride, the V. Halkesh, dying from within, stranded in uncharted void. No dockyards, no repair fleets, just one captured human. Jorun burst into the engine bay. Guards flung Mason forward. He hit the deck on hands and knees, rose slow, brushed grime from his jumpsuit, ignored the blasters leveled at his chest. Queen Siren strode in behind them. Her crown ridges flared silver under emergency lights. Silk robes whispered over power armor plates. "Fix it," she commanded. Mason scanned the dead engine bay. Massive conduits ruptured. Plasma scorch marks blackened bulkheads. Regulator stacks flickered erratic. Purge klaxons wailed. He stepped past Jorun. Prefect shoved him back. Blaster muzzle jammed into ribs. "On your knees, vermin!" Mason locked eyes with the queen, grabbed the blaster barrel, twisted it aside. "Back up!" Jorun snarled. Guards closed ranks. Queen Siren raised a claw. "Silence!" Purge, T-minus 6 minutes. Mason shook off the shove. Marched to the access ladder. Ladder dropped to the reactor room below. Guards lunged. He slapped the emergency hatch control. Hatch slammed down, sealed with a hydraulic hiss, locked from this side. Jorun pounded the panel. "Open it!" Mason's voice echoed up the shaft. "Mine now, stay out." Queen Siren's mandibles clicked, insolence from a contract salvage rat. Her doctrine demanded obedience. One glare and subjects knelt. This human, he vanished down the ladder. Boots clanged on rungs. Jorun drew his shock rod. "Override it, Majesty." She waved him off. Monitors flickered to life. Reactor room feed. Mason dropped into the chamber. Radiation warnings screamed. He ignored them, yanked a toolkit from a wall mount. Purge, T-minus 4 minutes. Vents groaned wider. Deck vibrated. Queen Siren leaned into the monitor. Jorun growled at her side. "Filthy primate, I'll gut him." Her gaze narrowed. Mason cracked open a service panel. Regulator stack hummed unstable. Overloaded cascades. Standard failsafe. Purge the crew to starve the surge. Imperial doctrine, human doctrine, different. He wedged a pry bar under the stack base, braced his feet, heaved, stack groaned, bolts sheared. Jorun barked a laugh. "Idiot, that'll blow the core." Queen Siren's crest flattened, pulling the regulator, manual extraction. Doctrine forbade it. Radiation bloom. Containment breach. Purge accelerated, but Mason yanked harder. Stack slid free, sparks flew. He dropped it into a containment cradle, locked it down. Alarms shifted pitch. Purge klaxons silenced. Vents snapped shut. Cascade indicators flatlined. Stable. Queen Siren stared. Jorun froze. Mason wiped sweat from his brow, looked up at the camera. Grinned. "Works fine now, send beer." Hatch unsealed. He climbed back up. Guards parted. No orders given. Jorun's shock rod trembled. Queen Siren met Mason's eyes. He held her stare. No bow, no kneel. Purge aborted. Ship stabilized. Her flagship breathed. Intact. Crew intact. By human hands. Raw, defiant. She felt the shift. First tremor in her chain of command. Mason shouldered past Jorun. Claimed a workbench. Dropped his toolkit. "This is my site." Jorun rounded on him. Blaster rose. Queen Siren's voice cut steel. "Stand down, Prefect." Jorun hesitated. His ridges pulsed red. "Majesty," she ignored him, faced Mason. "You halted the purge." He nodded once. Cracked open a conduit panel. "Bad regulator, pull it, reset the stack. Standard." Her engineers whispered doctrine, never pull live, always evacuate. This human touched the heart of her ship, casual, her claws flexed. Desire flickered, not for dominion, for that competence. Jorun stepped closer to her, whispered fierce. "He defies you, execute him." She silenced him with a glance. Mason pulled wires, tested junctions, ship hum deepened, engines stirred, outer decks reported clear, no more vents. Queen Siren watched his hands, precise, unhurried. Guards shifted uneasy. Jorun's blaster stayed half-raised. Purge clocks reset to infinity, her empire's might, saved by a stranded mechanic who refused her command. Mason straightened. Looked at her. Full fix needs days, your call. Her mandibles parted. No protocol covered this. He waited. Unchained, Jorun's grip tightened. She chose silence for now. Mason turned back to work. Queen Siren felt the leverage tilt. Subtle, irreversible. The human had rewritten the first rule, her ship, his hands. Jorun's eyes burned. She saw the mutiny spark. But Mason, he just worked. As if royals bowed to wrenches, the bay fell quiet, tools clinked. Her flagship hummed alive, under human claim. Mason yanked the harness from his salvage kit. Sparks showered the deck as the main grid overloaded. Consoles flickered red across the bay. Queen Siren's flagship shuddered, plasma conduits rupturing 2 decks down. He jammed the bypass into the exposed trunk. Twisted clamps, no time for diagnostics. The ship's core protocols locked out manual overrides, standard alien design. Safe, predictable, useless now. Powers cascading, Mason said. Life support trunks are the only clear path. Her mandibles clicked. Engineers recoiled. Those lines feed the bridge, oxygen purifiers, royal quarters. Exactly. He stripped insulation with his multi-tool. Bare wires gleamed. Reroute here or your empire's pride vents to vacuum. Prefect Jorun lunged forward, blaster drawn. Human filth, you touch nothing. Mason didn't flinch, routed the first cable. Current hummed through his gloves. The ship groaned louder, bulkheads stressing. Queen Siren raised a claw. Stand down, Prefect. Jorun's scales bristled. Majesty, he sabotages. Silence. Her voice cut steel, eyes locked on Mason's hands, wires connected, lights stabilized on auxiliary panels, but the surge built. Mason soldered the junction. Sweat beaded his brow, human skin scarred easy under plasma arcs. Didn't matter, ship first. Halfway, need full reroute. Alarms escalated. A vent hissed steam nearby, guards shifted. One clutched his throat, air thinning, her tail lashed. Do it, Jorun snarled. Step between them. No, protocol demands isolation, evacuate the bay. Mason ignored him, crimped the final lead. Power flowed, life support whirred louder, compensating. Main grid blinked green for seconds, then overload feedback hit. Consoles exploded in sparks. The deck bucked, Mason grabbed a strut. Cascading now, full blackout or it chains to the core. Queen Siren staggered, claws dug into her command pedestal. Blackout, the fleet sees weakness, my throne dies otherwise. Mason pointed at the hollow display. Surge lines spiderweb toward reactors. Authorize it now, Jorun whirled on her. Majesty, he lies, execute the intruder. Guards murmured, weapons rose, her gaze met Mason's. Unyielding, human eyes, flat, certain, no fear, only demand, she keyed her throne console. Voice command primed, hesitated. Mason stripped another panel, flames licked edges. 10 seconds. Total systems blackout, authorization, Siren VHAL, sovereign code Zeta-9. Silence crashed, every light died. Consoles went dark. The ship floated in void quiet. Jorun roared, tackled a guard. Blaster fired wild, bolt scorched the Queen's pedestal. Mason Dove tackled Jorun from behind. Human weight slammed the alien down, fists hammered scales. Jorun bucked. Claws raked Mason's arm, blood welled. Queen's voice boomed from emergency beacon. Cease, Prefect, stand down. Guards froze, Jorun twisted free, rose snarling, blaster aimed at Mason's chest. Mason rolled up, tool in hand like a knife. Try it. The Queen stepped between, pushed Jorun back. He saved us again. Saved, Jorun spat. He demands control, this is mutiny by proxy. Darkness pressed, only glow strips lit faces. Air recyclers hummed faint, Mason's reroute holding. Mason wiped blood, faced her. Blackout bought time, surge stopped, but cores unstable, need route access. Command-level codes, her mandibles parted. Route access to a royal vessel, no non-VHAL blood touches the nexus. Ship dies without it. Mason nodded at the dead hollow. Your engineers pray to protocols, I fix. Jorun laughed bitter. Give him that, Majesty. He owns your fleet next. Guards nodded, tension coiled, weapons twitched. Queen Siren flexed claws, stared at Mason's bloodied arm, his steady stance. The ship breathed because of him. One breach, she said low. You enter the nexus, fail, and I vent you myself. Mason nodded. Codes. She leaned close, breath hot on his neck, whispered the sequence. 10 digits, royal cipher, no alien yielded this. Ever, Mason punched them into the pedestal, nexus unlocked. Hollow flickered alive, root console only, full ship schema bloomed. Every subsystem naked. Jorun lunged again. Traitor Queen! 2 guards pinned him. Blasters pressed his skull. Mason dove into code, isolated the surge origin, quantum regulator feedback loop. Alien failsafe meant to protect trapped power instead. He bypassed it. Human hack piggyback on auxiliary inertial dampers. Rerouted access to maneuvering thrusters. Shipwide dump. Engines throbbed, lights surged back, full power, consoles stabilized, alarms silenced, Bay exhaled. Queen Siren watched the readouts, perfect balance, no losses. Her flagship whole, Jorun struggled. He rewrote your core, reclaim it. She silenced him with a gesture, turned to Mason, voice soft. You hold the Nexus. Mason logged out, handed the pedestal back. Fixed, for now. Her eyes lingered. Claws brushed his arm, staunching blood. Touch electric, not command, yield. Jorun broke free, grabbed a guard's blaster, aimed at Mason. For the Empire, Mason sidestepped. Grabbed the Queen, pulled her down as bolts scorched air. Chaos erupted. Guards fired. Jorun ducked behind crates, blasts ricocheted. Mason rolled, snatched a loose harness, flung it, tripped Jorun mid-charge. Prefect crashed. Mason pounced. Knee to throat, disarmed him clean. Guards swarmed, bound Jorun. Quiet fell. Queen rose, dust on scales, met Mason's gaze. Prefect Jorun, mutiny confirmed, execute. Jorun thrashed. You choose him over duty. She turned away. Remove him. Guards dragged him out, door hissed shut, alone with Mason. Nexus hummed under his touch marks. She stepped closer. Mandibles grazed his jaw. Root access, given. What now, human? Mason met her eyes. Partnership, not ownership. Her tail coiled near his leg, heat built. Prove it stays fixed. He nodded, tools ready, deck lights brightened. Ship alive, she watched his hands again. Jorun's shouts faded down the corridor. Silence settled, Nexus purred. Blaster fire echoed from the corridor. Mason spun from the Nexus pedestal. Jorun burst through the door, unbound, bloodied mandible twitching. 4 guards flanked him, shock staves humming. Human sabotage, Jorun roared. Seize him, guards lunged. Mason dropped his multi-tool. He sidestepped the first stave, grabbed the guard's wrist, twisted, bone cracked. Guard howled, dropped. Mason kicked the stave into Jorun's path. Prefect leaped over it. Queen Siren whirled. Stand down, Jorun ignored her. He slammed into Mason. They crashed against the bulkhead. Mason's ribs bruised. He drove an elbow into Jorun's throat. Prefect gagged, loosened grip. Mason broke free, snatched a loose conduit wrench, swung it low, caught Jorun's knee. Prefect buckled. Guards swarmed. One tackled Mason's legs. He fell hard, deck plating biting his palms. Staves crackled inches from his face. Queen's voice cut through. Jorun, cease or forfeit command. Jorun rose, limping. He's poisoned the Nexus, Majesty. Empire scanners confirm warp cascade failure. He yanked Mason up by the collar, dragged him toward the engine bay hatch. Guards followed, staves pressed to Mason's back. Queen stepped forward, mandibles flared. Release him. Jorun shoved Mason through the hatch, sealed for inspection. He'll confess under vacuum if needed. Hatch irised shut, locks engaged with a hydraulic hiss. Mason stood alone in the engine bay. Massive warp coils loomed, humming erratically. Red warning lights pulsed. Air recycler's word faint. He scanned the panel. Jorun's override code blinked, Bay SEA LED. Purge authorized, outside muffled shouts. Queen's voice rose. Open it now. Jorun barked orders. Mason cracked his knuckles. Time to work. He pried open the nearest access grate. Plasma conduits snaked inside, scarred from the earlier surge. His fix held for now. But Jorun's seal triggered the failsafe. Without manual override, the bay vented to space in 10 minutes. Standard Imperial design. Idiotic. Humans called it a suicide interlock. He pulled his wrist scanner, linked to the Nexus logs. Jorun's crew had logged containment breach imminent. They planned to blame him. Mason traced the vent relays, primary sealed, backup exposed. He yanked a fiber optic jumper, bypassed the interlock sensor. Rerouted power to the secondary vent, not full purge, controlled bleed. Air would thin slow, alarms would scream, Jorun's proof. Mason sealed the grate, tapped the intercom. Prefect, your seal's a coffin. Static, then Jorun's sneer. Suffer, saboteur. Footsteps retreated. Queen's voice pierced through. Mason, status. 5 minutes to hypoxia, fix the vent or we all choke. Her claws scraped metal outside. Hold, silence stretched. Mason leaned against the coil housing. Watched O2 levels drop on his scanner, 92%. He uncoiled a spare plasma torch from his belt. Tested the flame. Blue hiss, ready if they forced purge. Deck vibrated. Hatch controls word. Queen's override code flashed green. Hatch parted. She strode in first, scales glistening under bay lights. Two loyal guards followed, staves lowered. No Jorun. Where's the prefect? Mason asked. Disarmed, confined, her eyes locked on his. Show me. Mason nodded to the vent panel, punched in his bypass code. Secondary vent hissed open. Air rushed out controlled 1% per minute. Warning klaxons blared ship-wide. Red lights flooded the bay. Crew chatter exploded over comms. Containment failure. Evacuate engineering. Queen's mandibles clicked. You triggered this? Mason shut the vent. Alarms silenced. O2 stabilized. Proved it. Seal without my patch vents the bay, kills everyone inside. Her tail flicked, touched his boot. Heat radiated. Imperial doctrine demands full purge on breach. Doctrine kills your crew. Mason wiped sweat. My way saves them. She signaled guards. They hauled open the main diagnostic console. Readouts scrolled, warp integrity 87%. Holding, her claws grazed the screen. Impossible, scanners lied. Mason stepped closer, picked up his multi-tool. Your prefect faked the logs, wanted me dead. Queen's gaze hardened. She activated ship-wide comm. All hands, Prefect Jorun countermanded my orders, stripped of weapon authority, effective now. Crew channels buzzed, descent rippled. A guard outside barked. Jorun's rallying security, Queen whirled to Mason. The vent. Full demonstration. Mason grinned faint, moved to the primary relay. Jorun's seal code glowed. He overrode it with her Nexus access, still warm in his palm. Input his custom sequence. Primary vent cracked open. Air whistled sharper. O2 plummeted to 85% ship-wide. Panic surged over comms. Crew bolted for suits. Then Mason snapped it shut. Levels equalized. Silence blanketed the bay. Queen's breath hitched. Her hand, clawed, steady, pressed his shoulder. You turned their trap lethal on command. Not command. Mason met her eyes. Partnership. Footfalls thundered outside. Jorun's voice roared. Majesty compromised. Secure the human. Blaster safeties clicked. Guards poured in. 10 strong led by Jorun. Prefect's knee braced. Blaster leveled, stolen from a loyalist. Empire first. Queen stepped between. Stand down. Jorun fired past her. Bolt scorched Mason's arm. Pain flared. Mason dropped, rolled behind coil housing. Queen hissed, drew her own sidearm, fired once. Jorun dodged, blasted back. Her shot grazed his shoulder. Guards split, half obeyed her, half Jorun. Chaos ignited. Bolts crisscrossed the bay. Mason popped up, tossed his plasma torch. It arced into the fray, landed at Jorun's feet. Prefect kicked it away, too late. Mason hit the remote trigger. Torch ignited. Blue flame erupted, severed a power conduit. Sparks exploded. Two mutineers convulsed, staves shorting. Dropped twitching. Jorun bellowed. Flush him! Mason dove for the vent controls. Queen covered him, firing precise bursts. Dropped one guard. Her tail lashed, protective arc around Mason. O2 dipped again. Stray hit cracked a recycler. 83%. Crew alarms wailed. Jorun charged the console. Mason met him halfway. Grabbed a loose coil strut. Swung like a bat. Cracked Jorun's blaster wrist. Weapon flew. Prefect punched. Mason blocked, countered with knee to gut. Jorun wheezed. Mason pinned him. Wrenched his arm back. Queen's loyalists swarmed the rest. Staves cracked helmets. Mutiny crushed. Bay fell quiet. Save recyclers humming. O2 climbing. Jorun spat blood. You'll doom us all, Witch Queen. Queen holstered her sidearm, stepped over a fallen guard. Kneeled by Mason. Claws staunched his burn. Cool gel from her pads soothed. Prefect, your arrest fabricated. Mutiny doubled. Jorun thrashed. He rewires our soul, she nodded to guards. Airlock, no rights. They dragged him out, door sealed, alone again. Queen's touch lingered on Mason's arm. Eyes gleamed. You made the bay breathe death, then life. Mason stood, picked up his tool. Standard salvage trick, traps like that kill Rex. Her mandibles brushed his jaw. Electric tail coiled his calf. Ship's yours now, fully. He nodded, moved to the warp coils. Deeper repairs called. She watched, hands ready. Deck thrummed steady. A low hum filled the pause. Her claws traced his work. Heat built. No words. Vents whispered clean air. Silence deepened. Jorun's final curse cut off. Nexus purred louder. Crew chatter hushed. Queen's breath synced with his. Tools clicked. Bay lights steadied blue. Warp coils glowed even. Her hand stayed. Mason worked on. Flux manifold screamed alarms. Red lights pulsed across the bay. Queen's claws dug into Mason's shoulder. AI locks it down. Warp core offline. We drift forever. Mason yanked his plasma cutter free. Scrap plating from the mutineer's wrecked drone lay nearby. He sliced a meter-wide sheet clean. Sparks flew. Melted edges glowed. Her tail tightened on his leg. That reinforces nothing. Doctrine demands full replacement. He bent the plate double, hammered it into a rigid splice. No welds yet, just brute force curve, fit for the manifold's fracture line. Crew hissed behind her. One loyalist stepped forward. Human, sensors flag manual override as fatal. Mason shoved past, climbed the access gantry. Manifold hung cracked, venting plasma in blue arcs. AI droned, invalid procedure, evacuate sector. He slapped the splice over the crack. Torch flared, fused it seamless. Metal groaned, held, Queen climbed after, mandibles clicked. It seals, but lattice misalignment cascades. Drive fails in hours. Mason dropped to the deck, pulled sensor probes from his kit. Standard truck jury rig. Ship's AI rejected them at plug-in. Invalid calibration, reject. He bypassed the port, wired direct to the lattice nodes. Hand-twisted calibrations, eyeballed the alignments. Human gut math, no algorithms, consoles flickered. Warning, sensor drift exceeds 17%, core rejection imminent. Her eyes widened. Claws grazed his neck. You override our nexus, it purges intruders, Lattice hummed. Nodes realigned. Lights shifted green. One by one, crew froze, whispers died. Mason vaulted to the core access. Timed cycle panel loomed, locked behind triple safeties. AI blared, manual restart prohibited, geometry incompatible. He pried the panel. Fingers danced over relays. Set a 30-second cycle. No buffers, pure nerve timing. Queen pressed close, breath hot on his ear. One error, core detonates, takes us all. He punched start, core wind low, geometry fought, ship shuddered, 10 seconds, lattice strained, 15, plasma flickered, 25. Her hand gripped his wrist, tail coiled tight. Cycle hit 0. Core thrummed, accepted the splice. New geometry locked in, silence fell. Alarms cut, nexus purred smooth. Deck steadied, warp coils glowed even blue. Queen's mandibles brushed his cheek. Slow, electric, crew stared. No orders given. Mason wiped sweat. Tools clinked back into belt. Her claws traced his arm, lingered on the burn she'd cooled. You rewrote the soul without doctrine. He met her gaze, nodded once. Bay Vents whispered, "Oh, too pure." She leaned in, lips parted near his, heat built. Core hummed deeper, steady. No words, her tail released, claws withdrew. Mason turned to the next panel, deeper fixes waited. She followed, silent. Crew parted, lights held blue. Nexus sang. Queen Siren clamped her claws around Mason's wrist, dragged him from the Nexus bay. Corridors sealed behind them. Red strobes flashed. Command override klaxons wailed. Private audience now. Her tail lashed, Prefect Jorun shadowed, rifle slung low, aimed at Mason's back, deck lurched, bulkheads groaned, authority cascade failure. Ship's voice barked, command hierarchy compromised, Queen Link severed, nobles locked out. Siren's mandibles clicked fury, she shoved Mason into her sanctum, doors hissed shut. Jorun posted outside, pounded once, ignored, Mason yanked free, scanned the chamber. Hollow throne flickered. Central pedestal pulsed error codes, bio-neural crown interface, linked ruler to every subsystem. Previous core splice had rippled up, fractured the chain, no queen, no orders, ship adrift in noble squabbles. Siren thrust a crystal slab at him. Royal seal glowed. Binding consort contract, marry into my line, fix the crown, command flows through us. Her eyes burned, tail coiled invitation, heat radiated. Empire law you serve or die owned. Mason snatched the slab, cracked it open. Scan terms, ownership absolute. No exit, her spawn heirs, his skills property, he crushed it in fist, shards rained. No, stepped past her to the pedestal. Equal terms, shared authority codes, exit clause, my signature or nothing, she hissed, claws extended. Human insolence, I offer crown, lunged close. Breath scorched his neck. Take it. Pedestal sparked, neural lattice fried, ship shuddered, escape pods ejected empty, nobles broadcasted challenges. Queen dethroned, take the fleet. Siren froze, mandibles parted, panic edged her voice. Mason ignored her. Pop the pedestal cover, expose the hierarchy core. Layers of bioforged nodes, each noble sigil locked in dominance tree. Queen's root overwritten by splice feedback. Standard procedure, prune the rot, rebalance from base. He jacked in his multi-tool, overrode safeties. Aliens built rigid. One queen, pyramid down. Humans did mesh networks, adaptive, redundant. He traced the fracture, isolated noble branches, severed overrides, no alarms, pure reroute. Siren gripped his shoulder, claws pricked skin. "What are you?" Voice cracked. Ship's voice glitched. Noble's feeds cut mid-rant. Mason rebuilt, wove her route back, but paralleled it. Dual authority trunk, his sigil ghosted in, test pulse. Lattice accepted, no rejection, hierarchy stabilized, dual paths, queen and consort equals in code. Pedestal hummed green, crown interface lit. Siren's spines flared, she slammed the link, ship bowed. Hierarchy restored, dual command active. Her eyes widened, touched the hollow, saw the weave. You rewrote the chain. Mason unjacked, wiped his hands. Your pyramid cracked. I meshed it, shared root. Now nobles can't isolate you, or me. Met her gaze. Sign equal terms, or I prune it back to default. She circled him, tail brushed his leg, slow, electric. Impossible, biolattices reject foreigners. Claws traced his jaw, lingered. You bind without blood. Standard procedure. He stepped back toward the door. Contract now. Sanctum Vents whispered, O2 cycled pure, her mandibles brushed his ear, heat built. No words, she retracted claws, pulled a fresh slab, inscribed changes, shared codes, exit rights. Sealed it dual, pushed into his palm. Consort Cade, partner. Door hissed, Jorun burst in, rifle raised. Majesty, nobles rally, they sense the fracture. Eyes locked on Mason. Kill the human, restore purity. Siren spun, tail lashed Jorun's chest, knocked him back. Stand down, he fixed the crown. Voice thundered, ship amplified. Dual command active. Jorun snarled, rifle snapped up. Heresy, no human rules v. Hal. Trigger depressed, Mason moved, grabbed Jorun's barrel, twisted, joint lock. Rifle clattered, human leverage. Prefect outweighed him triple, but Mason pivoted, used momentum, slammed Jorun into bulkhead, stunned. Siren's claws pinned Jorun's throat. Traitor! Ship locked his armor, servos froze. Court convenes now. They marched him out, corridors cleared. Nobles assembled in Grand Hall, hollow thrones arrayed, whispers died. Siren shoved Mason forward, beside her seat. Crystal slab projected massive. Court of Vihal, witness. Her voice boomed, crown pulsed green, dual sigils shone. Consort Mason Cade rewrote the hierarchy. Save the fleet, he demands equal terms. Slab terms scrolled, shared authority, exit rights. I grant them, contest if you dare. Nobles recoiled, mandibles clacked, Lord Vexar rose. Blasphemy, human taints the root. Activated challenge beacon, fleet links flickered. Mason felt the pull. Hierarchy tugged, his mesh held, he overrode from wrist pad, isolated Vexar's branch, pruned, no fuss, Vexar's throne darkened. Challenge denied, code enforces. Gasps rippled, Siren laughed. Low, feral, tail coiled Mason's waist. Public, see. He commands as eye claws gripped his arm. Possessive, heat pressed close. Jorun thrashed in bonds. Mutiny, prefect calls loyalists. Armor overrides failed, ship ignored him. Another noble stood, Lady Thrin, proof or we fracture. She pulsed her sigil, tested the mesh. Mason countered, rerouted her query through dual trunk. Her own data looped back, exposed her hidden overrides. Plotted isolation during core crisis. Projection lit, evidence undeniable. Thrin's spines collapsed, throne dimmed. Mercy, majesty, Siren leaned into Mason. Lips grazed his neck. They break, whispered. You hold them. Hall fell quiet. One low noble murmured, then silence. Vents hummed, crown throbbed steady. Dual green, Prefect Jorun's eyes bulged, rifle long gone, bonds tightened. Queen, no, she turned. Execute protocol. Loyalist purge. Ship complied. Jorun's armor vented atmosphere. Frost rhymed his scales, last gasp, silent. Nobles bowed, heads low, no challenges. Siren pulled Mason closer. Mandibles parted near his lips. Tail tightened. Heat surged, court watched, no orders. Hall vents whispered. Crown purred dual. Lights held steady blue. Mason Cade strode the polished corridors alone, boot soles whispering against deck plates restored to gleam. His wrist pad hummed low, scanning for anomalies the ship's mesh had overlooked. A faint residue trail caught his eye, disrupted weld seams, too precise for battle damage. He crouched, thumbed open a panel. There, a sabotage charge, matte black, wedged into the plasma conduit. Alien tech, high yield, timed for core overload. He uncapped his marker paint, silent and UV reactive, and tagged it with a single slash. No alarm, no trace. He moved faster. Next junction, another charge cloaked in false diagnostic readings. Tag, corridor bent toward auxiliary vents, third one nestled in a relay node. His paint gleamed invisible under normal light. 8 total by the time he reached the throne hall's edge. Ship sensors blind to manual hides. Aliens trusted code over crawlspaces. Queen Siren waited in the antechamber, crown pulsing dual green. Nobles dispersed under her gaze. She turned as he approached, tail flicking once. Mason extended his palm. A single locator bead rested there, tiny, human-forged, synced to his pad. Wear it, no questions. Her mandibles parted, claws hovered. Mason, now. His voice cut flat, no room for doctrine. She snatched it, mandibles clicking shut, pinned it to her collar lattice. Heat flared in her scales, tail brushed his leg, lingered. You command shadows I cannot see. He nodded once, turned back to the corridors. Conspirators moved in the quiet. He felt their signals ghost his pad, loyalists to the purged prefect Jorun, splinter cells uncoordinated but armed. Ship purge scattered them, not ended them. They hunted the core next. Unwatched, they thought. Mason sealed the engine bay hatch behind him. Darkness swallowed the space, emergency lights killed by his override. He crouched amid the massive core housings, tools arrayed silent at his belt. Plasma hum vibrated the deck, masking his breath. His pad tracked the bead. Siren paced the throne, safe. Good. Footsteps echoed distant, booted, scaled, converging. 3 signals, no mesh chatter. They bypassed digital locks with physical keys, Jorun's old codes. Panel hissed open 50 meters down. Whispers in alien tongue, core exposed, detonators prime on my mark. Mason waited. Let them advance. Shadows shifted as they crept past his tagged charges. First conspirator paused at a conduit, checked readings. Passed the slash-painted charge blind. Second hauled a breaching kit toward the core shield. Valley fell. Mason exhaled slow, eyes on his pad's thermal ghosts. No rush. Their plan locked, overload the core, blame the human fixer, fracture the Queen's hold, certainty in their steps. His finger traced a seam in the deck plating. Quiet stretched, broken only by the core's thrum. 1 beat, 2, they reached the core perimeter. Leader knelt, unpacked the final detonator, massive ship killer. Mesh purged Jorun, we finish his will. Mason triggered the paint. UV floodlights snapped on from hidden housings he'd rigged earlier. His markers blazed like beacons. Conspirators froze, spines flaring. What? Leader spun, rifle rising. Mason's plasma cutter ignited mid-leap. He closed the gap in 3 strides, cutter shearing the rifle barrel clean. Leader howled, claw swiping. Mason ducked, drove elbow into throat scales. Crack. Leader crumpled. Second conspirator lunged, vibro blade humming. Mason sidestepped, grabbed the wrist, twisted, blade plunged into the intruder's own thigh. Screech echoed. Mason yanked the detonator pack free, hurled it into the marked conduit. His pad pulsed, charges linked. Third raised a grenade launcher. Mason rolled behind core housing. Launcher barked, shot wild, plasma scorching bulkhead. Mason popped up, flung a microfilament tether from his belt. Line whipped, snagged the launcher's vent. He yanked hard, weapon overloaded, exploded in the alien's grip. Scales shredded, down. Leader gasped upright, clutching throat. Human, how? Mason loomed over him, thumbed his pad, all tagged charges armed, his paint now circuits, slave to his command. Standard procedure, tag and trace, he tapped execute. Corridors lit with muffled booms, 8 sabotage nodes detonating in sequence, venting only to sealed chutes. No core breach, no ship loss. Conspirator eyes widened at the deck quakes. Shipwide alarm trilled once, then silence. Mason's pad confirmed, purge complete. Physical threats nullified. Queen Siren burst through the bay hatch, crown flaring, tail lashed. Mason! Conspirators groaned at his feet. She halted, mandibles agape, claws flexed. Bead pulsed steady on her collar. He met her gaze. Trap sprung, ship's yours. Her tail coiled his legs slow, heat pressed. Noble's signals flooded his pad, summoned by the blasts, arriving now. They would see the bodies, the tagged remnants projected on walls. Siren's spines lowered. One claw traced his jaw. You rewrite my empire. Footsteps halted outside. Silence held. Mason stepped back. Pad dimmed. Core hummed steady. Conspirators stilled. Queen watched him unblinking. Hatch seals buckled under plasma cutters. Prefect Jorun kicked through first, armored bulk filling the frame. His squad surged behind, 20 mutineers in full vac suits, pulse rifles hot, targeting the Queen. Nobles crammed the corridor beyond, spines rigid, claws drawn but frozen. Secure the pretender, Jorun bellowed. Boots thundered across deck plating. Rifles snapped up. Mason didn't flinch. Thumb flew across his pad. Ship's engineering mesh, his domain since the core fix, linked every suit's gyros and maglocks. Standard salvage protocol, remote station keeping for hull crawlers. Mutineers' suits ran the same stack. He punched the override. Jorun's squad halted mid-stride. Legs locked rigid. Arms pinned to sides. Visors flashed era red. Gyros whined, fighting the clamp. They toppled like felled pillars, slamming deck first. Rifles clattered free. One thrashed, Mason up torque. Suit servos screamed, pinned flat. Jorun twisted, half upright. His own suit betrayed him, boots magnetized to deck, shoulders fused. What sorcery? Mason stepped forward. Pad chirped confirmation, full immobilization. No blood, no shots. 20 threats nullified in 3 seconds. Queen Siren uncoiled from Mason's side. Her tail brushed his calf, deliberate, possessive. Crown spines flared gold. She snatched the pad from his hand. Claws danced over the interface. Earlier, during the purge, Mason had siphoned Jorun's command auth via the tagged nodes. Backdoor harvest, clean pull, she broadcast it shipwide. Voice boomed from every bulkhead. Prefecture Jorun's codes, Alpha 7 Vortex 9, confirmed loyalist override revoked. Prefecture dissolved, effective now. Consoles lit green across the bay. Mutineers' HUDs went dark. Noble pads pinged, hierarchy rewrite complete. Jorun's rank evaporated from the chain. Jorun bucked against his suit. Majesty, treason this human. Siren silenced him with a claw tip to his visor. You moved when my command wavered, now it does not. Nobles pushed through the hatch. Silk robes swirled, eyes locked on the pinned squad, then Mason. Whispers died. One Lord Vexar, the fleet admiral, tensed claws. His pad hovered as if to challenge the broadcast. Mason met his gaze, shifted stance beside the queen. Pad back in his grip. Engineering mesh hummed under his thumb, ship's heart suits, now noble implants if needed. No one moved. Siren's tail looped Mason's waist. Heat pulsed through his jumpsuit. She leaned in, mandibles grazing his ear. Stand with me. He nodded once. No words, Pad stayed live. Vexar lowered his pad, claws retracted. The court held breath. Jorun rasped through his visor. Release us, fight honorably. Mason tapped a suit slider. Jorun's helmet retracted, exposed scales pale, eyes wild. Honor got your codes captured. Standard procedure. Siren's claw pressed Jorun's throat. Witness. She triggered the queen's seal. Hollow projection bloomed. Jorun's mutiny logs pulled from his own auth. Timestamps. Orders to seize her throne. Broadcast looped shipwide. Mutineers groaned under their suits. Nobles recoiled. Vexar hissed, spines flat. A junior lord bolted for the hatch. Mason's pad pinged, suit trace active. He locked the runner's legs remotely. Runner face planted, skidding to halt. Silence crashed down. Siren straightened. Tail tightened on Mason. The engineer commands my mesh. Challenge him, challenge me. No one spoke. Jorun's eyes darted, Mason to queen back. Realization hit. His claws twitched, useless. Mason released the squad's arms only. Rifles stayed cold, slaved to engineering lockout. Jorun pushed up slow. Knelt head bowed. The prefecture serves, he muttered. Siren's spines lowered. She waved dismissal. Suits unlocked full. Mutineers rose, rifles slung, filed out under noble stairs. Court emptied. Only Siren remained, tail still coiled. Mason powered down his pad. Core thrummed steady. She pulled him close. Mandibles parted, lips soft, scaled, brushed his. No words, silence held.